You've probably been there. You snag a cheap 3-burner grill on a weekend sale, fire it up for the first time, and within a couple of weeks the burners are uneven, the lid warps, and the sear you hoped for ends up looking more like a sad, gray pancake. That buyer's remorse hits hard because you're left with a piece of metal that looks great in the backyard but can't deliver the meals you imagined. So the question is, does the Napoleon Rogue Pro 625 feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another pricey piece of equipment that will sit idle after the first season? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you're standing in the aisle, staring at a wall of gas grills, the hesitation is real. You're weighing the upfront cost against the promise of that restaurant-level sear, the convenience of a side burner for sauces, and the fear of overcommitting to a unit that might be too big for your patio or too complex to maintain. A lot of the decision-making in this space comes down to two things: how often you grill and what you actually want to grill. If you're the type who throws together burgers on a Saturday and calls it a night, a basic grill might suffice. If you're planning to host backyard brunches, smoke a rack of ribs, then finish with a steakhouse-grade sear, you need a machine that can handle multiple cooking zones without breaking a sweat. That's where the Rogue Pro 625 steps into the conversation. It's a 5-burner natural gas grill that adds an infrared rear burner and an infrared side burner to the mix, plus a dedicated warming rack. On paper that sounds like a lot of firepower, but what does it mean when you actually light it up? First, the layout. The main cooking area spreads over 34 inches, giving you enough room to lay out a full family-size burger platter or a couple of chicken breasts side by side. The real differentiator is the rear infrared burner. In practice, it works like a hot plate that sits just under the grill surface, blasting heat upward at a consistent, high temperature. I've seen homeowners use it to get that crusty, caramelized exterior on a ribeye in under 5 minutes, while the interior stays buttery pink. The side infrared burner, tucked along the left edge, is perfect for keeping sauces warm or finishing a delicate fish fillet that needs a gentler heat. It's not a separate stovetop, it's integrated, so you don't have to juggle two pieces of equipment. What I appreciate most in real-world use is the way the warming rack sits a few inches above the main burners. You can park a tray of cooked veggies there while the grill finishes a batch of sausages, and the gentle heat keeps everything at serving temperature without drying out. In a weekend gathering where you're moving from appetizers to mains to sides, that extra rack eliminates the need for a makeshift keep-warm zone on the countertop. Now, let's talk about the durability that Napoleon promises. The finishes are coated to resist rust and the elements, which matters if you live in a humid climate or plan to leave the grill out year-round. In the few months I've watched owners fire this unit up during early spring and again in late autumn, the paint and metal have held up without peeling or showing the typical grayish discoloration that cheaper grills develop after a season of exposure. The knobs feel solid, not plastic mushy, and the burners line up evenly when you ignite them, which translates to a consistent heat map across the cooking surface. However, the grill isn't without trade-offs. At over 6 feet wide, it commands a sizable footprint. If you have a modest patio or a shared balcony, you'll need to measure twice before committing. The need for a natural gas line is another consideration. While natural gas runs cheaper than propane over time, the initial hookup can be a hassle if you're not already wired for it, potentially adding a professional install fee you didn't budget for. The infrared burners also demand a bit more attention. They can develop carbon buildup faster than standard burners, so a regular scrape and a quick wipe down after each heavy use session keep them performing at peak heat. From a value perspective, the Rogue Pro 625 shines when you look at the versatility it packs. You get 5 independent burners, 2 of which are infrared, plus the warming rack all in a single, cohesive unit. For someone who likes to experiment, think searing steak on the rear infrared while simmering a bourbon glaze on the side burner and keeping a tray of corn on the cob warm on the rack. That flexibility justifies the higher price tag compared to a basic 3-burner model. If you're primarily grilling hot dogs and frozen burgers, the extra burners may feel like overkill, and you could save a good chunk of cash by opting for a simpler setup. Who should buy this? If you're a serious backyard chef, enjoy entertaining, and have the space and gas line to accommodate a larger unit, the Rogue